You're right, all. So obviously, there's quite a lot of volatile sort of stuff going on at the minute, and the headlines, for example, here, Tommy Robinson, otherwise real name Stephen Lennon, I believe it is. To me, I used to watch Joe Owens back in the days, sort of around 2015, 2016, and he used to cover. To be honest, to Joe Owens nowadays, he's a bit of a one-trick pony. He just goes on about new arrivals, cultural change. In the past, he was really interesting to listen to because he talked about MI5 and spies, and Tommy Robinson was someone he often named as a spy. He often talked about how various groups were infiltrated by, the secret state, the MI5, so on. And Tommy Robinson was someone he mentioned. Personally, I can see it because he used to talk about how EDL would go on like demonstrations going. You remember EDL? That's what I mean. They're all dissolved now, aren't they? Going down the street going EDL, get all the football hooligans and they go into areas that piss people off, full of Muslims and that. So by the time they left, it just caused more and more friction than there was before. And there was National Action, who became known as a errorist group, and they used to be, because I actually went to have a chat with them once, and I don't know if I'd really trust them though, to be honest. I went to watch one of their demonstrations in Liverpool, and I was like a fly on the wall. I kind of observed what happened, and what I witnessed afterwards. They pissed off all the locals, and they left the St George's Hall outside the Liverpool train station in an absolute right state. Especially around October, November time, coming up to Remembrance Sunday. There's obviously Antifa were chucking milkshake at them and all sorts, and it didn't achieve anything, and it just wound people up. And also, Liverpool is a predominantly white area, so they send them into areas like that because it puts off the British people getting involved with anything sort of nationalistic because it gets tied with them. But they'll send Britain first, another one that's disappeared, come and gone. With the Union Jack St George's dressed up in suits, looking quite presentable. They'll send them into more of the Islamic areas and wind up the Muslims and the other people, Eastern Europeans and Africans and all the rest of it. Whereas mainly Muslims that they used to go for, wasn't it? But yeah, anyway, so the headlines. So Rishi Sunak's talking the usual nonsense, like Suella Braverman, like Priti Patel. They say the same shit over and over. We'll decide who comes here. Sunak vows new migration crackdown as global instability spirals. Well, they've created it. The powers that shouldn't be have created all this instability. Deliberately, I'd say as well. But I'll come to why that is in a second. Here we are. But just to go on a different topic. Cigarette ban to create smoke-free generation. Sounds a bit like Demolition Man to me, that. Like a really tyrannical nanny state that's designed to apparently look after you, but in reality it's just restricting your freedoms and rights. And there's that community that goes and lives in the sewers at the end, living off rats. I've thought the British equivalent of that will be going living in the woods, living off grey squirrels, won't it? I suppose there'll be something good out of all these grey squirrels that got brought here. Now, to get to the main point, all of this, to be honest, just reminds me of either Albert Pike, what he said. Albert Pike was a 33rd degree Freemason, and he was talking how the Third World War would be used to bring the Muslims and the Christians to clash with each other. The Third World War must be formed between the Christians and the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and Christianity mutually destroy each other, leaving the political Zionists in control. Zionism is basically agreeing with the state of Israel. I've got to be. I'll try and code it as best as I can, but basically the Shekel gang, you'll find, are often heavily involved with nearly every war that's been fermented. The Bible or Jesus called them the synagogue of Satan. I'm not on about your ordinary sort of oy vey people. I'm on about the, like the banker sort of level, your Larry Silverstein sort of level, Henry Kissinger, the Rockefellers, people like that. But I would say the end result of leading a Third World War between Christians and Muslims, a big clash. That's why they've probably been brought here, to cause all this chaos. Is they want to probably get us to an equilibrium state. Yeah, so there's a movie called Equilibrium with Christian Bale, and Christian Bale is the main character, the star of the show, and basically the whole human population had been suppressed into sort of drones, like no emotions anymore, and that'll be part of the plan really, to get rid of all religions, all emotions, all clubs. It kind of just atomizes down to nothing basically. Yeah, even like 1984 touched on it with the way they dressed, and all the grey clothing, and that's what Equilibrium was partly about. And yeah, it makes me wonder. And I mean, to be fair, and also every time I hear about all this stuff that's going on, it just reminds me of this. I'm not a full-on Christian, but just about everything of it is starting to come true now. And you will hear of wars and rumours of wars. Obviously, you've got Israel and Palestine, you've got Russia and Ukraine, and then see that you are not troubled. I'm not troubled by it. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation. Nation was an old Hebrew term, I believe, for ethnic groups of people. And kingdom against kingdom. Well, the British Empire is on its way out. You've got the Chinese Empire that's rising, the Anglo-American Empire, shall we say, as well, against the Russian-Chinese sort of empire, or a nation, as in an actual country. We're always kind of rising up against each other at the minute. There will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes as in various places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Now, I'm no bloody pastor or priest, but I can see a lot of that is happening now. Particularly, nation will rise against nation. I mean, you've got the Africans against the Arabs in London. You've got the Oy Vey gang versus the Arabs, the Muslims in Palestine, Israel. You can see it all across the UK, can't you? In particular, everyone's kind of against each other now. Black Lives Matter. They're all groups created to cause more friction and chaos amongst each other. So I think that's about all I was going to cover. But it's always food for thought, isn't it? Alright, cheers.